So, based on our syllabus, from this part of the contents, we were supposed to do it in class and face to face. However, due to different kind of uncertainty that we may be facing during this week, so I have discussed with the TA and I think it's better that I will just record the contents so that you can still be sure that you can still have classes and the learning can still continue. So here we are moving to different analysis methods. Previously we looked at some analysis, but they were mainly on how to use different tools to summarize the cash flow so that we can compare them more easily. And then we started to look at so-called benefit cost analysis. So for sure, in order to invest on a project or in any way, you have options that you want to choose from. You want to consider your benefit versus cost. Then you will decide how you would like to select. During a benefit cost analysis, we also indicated that that is the beginning of the evaluation. Right? We have to have more benefit than cost so that we'll consider this alternative, this opportunity, or this project. And from benefit and cost analysis, we can deduce different kind of analysis one by one, mathematically, computationally converted without any gap. So whatever these new criteria present us should be consistent with what benefit and cost analysis tell us. So over there we have seen just briefly so-called present worth analysis. It's just to take all the cash flow to the present time and see whether or not it is a positive value. Just like when we consider benefit and cost, we want to have more benefit than cost. If you add them together, the net will be positive. So when we use present worth analysis, we bring all the cash flow to the present time, and we want to make sure that net cash flow is a positive value. If it is, then it is a viable option for us to choose from. However, when we are looking at a specific opportunity, we need to take a certain side. Just imagining that if you are running a bank, right? So you loan some money to a customer, the customer will repay you. And if you are working for the bank, you have one consideration, whether or not you want to take the customer. If you are from the customer perspective, you have your expectation. So the offer by the bank should be good. Otherwise, you won't take it. So it depends on your role in this relationship so that you will make different decisions. Similarly, for a company will invest on a certain project, and there will be some return. Okay, so from the company's perspective, they want to make sure that the investment can return the amount, the money, which can be justified. So let's just say if we are thinking of more of individual customers, so you can imagine that you are making decision from two directions. If you are a customer to the bank, you want to see a very beneficial offer from the bank so that you will borrow the money. So you are borrowing the money, or the bank is loaning money to you. So you want to choose from these different loans. If you are a company, you are paying the money out as investment. So you want to make sure that the return will be sufficient to cover not just your investment, but also the expected profit that you defined. Okay, so later we'll see these two cases, but you have to remember what role are you taking. If you are borrowing money, you want the interest as low as possible. If you are investing in project, you want the return as much as possible. One is lower, but it's better. One, the higher, the better. Okay, so remember that you have to figure out which role are you taking so that you can make the right decision. So just like we have seen earlier, but gradually we'll have more data. Previously we look at a lot of computation symbolically, and it could be quite short, but in real world these cash flows are very lengthy, very complicated, but in general we can classify them into two parts. One will be inflow, money coming in. Okay, remember that in cash flow diagram it should be arrows going up, and there will be money going out, cash outflows, which are costs. And if you show them in the cash flow diagram, there will be arrows going down. Okay, so if you subtract them for every period or every year, then you will see net cash flow. Okay. You will subtract benefit from by cost. So benefit minus cost, you get net cash flow. So when it is minus, meaning that cost is higher than benefit. When it is plus, means benefit is more than cost. So we can get a new column of cash flows. It's called net cash flows. It's benefit minus cost. Okay, so we can now look into how we can determine whether or not we can utilize this cash flow to make decision. There's a preliminary evaluation of each opportunity, which is very intuitive, and it's still also quite reasonable. It's called payback period. It's like if you invest on something, you say, oh, I cannot wait for too long to get the return because the future could be quite uncertain. I want it to be returned within 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. Chances are just like almost everything else in the real world, when you have something that can return in a very short period of time, it's usually more risky business. If you want to have very stable, secure investment, the return will be longer. But depending on the nature of the company, depending on the nature of business, you may set different time limit for payback. So let's just say if we say, okay, I want everything to be returned by the end of 4th year. If not, I won't invest. That could be a criterion that we can use to evaluate whether or not certain projects are acceptable. Again, it's quite intuitive, and it's also reasonable because future future is very difficult to predict, and we have also different constraints. Getting your investment back as early as possible is a good thing to begin with. Okay, and it can be used as a preliminary screening guideline. It's too long, so we're not going to do it. It's short enough, then so okay, all of these shorter payback period ones, then we're trying to figure out which one will be the most beneficial. Right? And it does have a weakness. That is, it does not consider the time value of money beyond the payback period. Okay, beyond the payback period. One could be shorter, one could be longer. A longer one in the long run may be more beneficial, but we only consider payback period. So we may have already excluded those opportunities which can bring us much better return. Okay, that's the drawback of payback period. So you can imagine that payback periods analysis doesn't give us the same kind of it's not necessarily giving us the same kind of conclusion that I previously described. That is, they all need to be consistent. Payback period considered only partial cash flow. So the contribution come after the payback period. Okay, preset payback period will not be considered. Okay, so you'll miss some like future benefits, so that your decision may not be in agreement with other methods. So payback period is just an approximate method. It serves to screen some of the project based on your needs of having shorter time for the return. It is in a lot of cases not we not come to the same conclusion of the as like present worth or other benefit cost analysis. Okay, so let's look at how it works. I think it's probably quite easy to understand. For example, we look at our cash flow. Remember, we have benefit, we have cost, we have net cash flow. When we do analysis, we only need to look at net cash flow, because if net cash flow, the analysis of net cash flow is in terms of present worth. If it's positive, then we'll accept. If it's negative, then we will not accept. So we don't need to have those two cash flow. Of course, we can calculate them separately, then do a subtraction to get the same result. But let's just take the net cash flow. If it's not net cash flow, we'll add them together at different field. So here, for the present time, we have investment. You can probably guess already. We have investment. We get some money back, and every year we get some money back. So the question is, this is an investment opportunity. So what is the payback period for this opportunity? So clearly, if we just look at the number together and we do not consider time value of money and so on, we just add them. So right now, for right now, we sort of add these two together. We say, oh, okay, we have a negative net cash flow is 85,000, and at the end of first year we get 15,000 coming in. So it become our cumulative flow is minus 70. And the end of a second year, 25,000 come in. So on the book we still see minus 45,000, and at the end of third year we get 35,000 coming in. Then we add to minus 45,000, we get minus 10,000. And the fourth year there's 45,000 coming in, and if we add to minus 10,000, we get positive 35,000. So from the end of the third year to the end of fourth year, our accumulated cash flow went from minus 10,000 to positive 35,000. So somewhere in between the end of third year and the end of fourth year, we have recovered our initial investment. Okay, initial investment. Our accumulated cash flow, it turned from negative to positive. So we know it should be, if we can use the fraction, it should be 3 point some years. You can also say it's 4 years, right? Because less than 4 years we have already recovered it, but it has to be more than 3 years. So that's the situation. So payback period is somewhere between the third year and the fourth year, and the cash flow beyond that will not be considered. That becomes a problem, in fact. So if we look at that, initially we have 85,000, and these are return, like benefits, coming in every year. So what we can do is we just start from, use this cumulative cash flow diagram. We can see more clearly and understand what was going on. So in the beginning, it was minus 85,000 for a period of time. Then we received certain amount, so our negative cash flow becomes smaller. Then it stayed the same until the end of the second year. Then we have some payback, like 25,000 income inflow coming in. Then coming in is going up. So now we have a much smaller minus value. At the end of the third year, it was still minus, even if we get $35,000 coming in. And it will stay the same until the fourth period. So again, if we consider this change of the value continuous over 1 year, so the exact payback period should be between the third year and the fourth year, and we can compute it using interpolation. And here roughly is 3.2 years. So we'll say that the payback period of this investment is 3.2 years. However, when we do it like that, it did not consider time value of money. Yeah, it did not consider time value of money because all the cash flow were not considered. Future cash flow did not consider time value of money, so they stayed the same. However, it would be better to consider time value of money to reflect the true return of the value you invested right now. Okay, so one way to do it, of course, we know that we need to consider an interest rate. Okay, an interest rate will be compounded into our computation for finding the payback period. So we took still the same net cash flow. However, if we right now put in 85,000, okay, there's a cost to it too. So that cost is the interest that we need to pay. So 85,000, and the cost will be 12,750. So we'll add these two together. But these are the total costs that incurred on us, right? We pay out, but we get a certain amount of money back, which is 15,000. So you add these two together, and well, these are minus 1, and you plus this one. So this is what you'll get, 82,750. Okay, which is you add these two and add this one together. Right? You have two negative value, you have one plus value, you add them together, you still have this negative value. So from the end of the first year to the second year, again, this amount, the money that you haven't recovered, has a cost on it, which is the interest. So you still need to multiply that by 15% to get the interest. Again, you add this value and this value together. These are the total negative value. Yeah. And this is a positive value, the benefit. These two are the cost. You add these two together, if you look at this, it's roughly a little bit more than 95,000. And this is 25,000. So if you add them together, it's about minus 70,000. Okay, so you probably get the point. The amount of money you haven't recovered, that will have a cost there, because the money, either you borrow the money, you need to pay the interest, or this is the money that you could have put it in a bank, and you did not put it in a bank. Over the period of 1 year, you should have had a certain amount of interest, but you did not get it. So that loss should be considered your cost. So the cost and the money hasn't been recovered, added together, that's your cost, and you plus the inflow. So eventually, if you use this method, okay, considering the cost of the money that hasn't been recovered, then you can imagine that every time you get some money back, but then your cost seems to increase again. You get some money back, the cost seems to increase again. But anyway, when you reach that point, that is from negative to positive, again, based on our explanation in the previous slide, you know that the payback period, based on discounted payback period calculation, should be somewhere between 4 and 5. Okay, somewhere between 4 and 5, meaning that it's 4 point some years. Okay, it will be 4 point some years, and we can again compute the exact time by interpolation.